introduction to us and what we're doing?
Yes. Having said that, we need to have everybody ready. I've just got to join with my other machine.
Of course. This is also traditional.
Best laid plans, eh? Okay. Right.
Wait a second. Somebody's got their hand up. Was that a mistake? David?
No, not a mistake. Not a mistake. I was just going to fill in while George was getting his laptop trained up. Just to give you some insight on a couple of issues. I've had exactly the same with different entities. I run about 8 different versions of Teams, and I nailed it with one of their advisors, because about 2 weeks ago there was a major upgrade of Teams, where what you'll notice, as it's showing here, is recording and transcription. And they've incorporated a software which is called Web Viewer 2, which is a partnership with Meta or Google to provide the transcription using AI tools. And what you may notice, if those of you got sensitive calibration on your CPU, is that you actually need a GPU to cope with the processing power that this soaks up. So if you find that your laptop of 3 or 4 years overheats, it's purely because it's being asked to do much more than it was ever configured for, or even feasibly considered for. And that's the reason why bandwidth will start to stutter, because it's soaking it up from that. So there is a background. You're not alone, and they haven't sorted out the wrinkles yet with the connections with Outlook. Hence your problem of trying to create meetings, which if you duplicate and carry forward, they then carry the attributes and the poor links. So it's not you, Doctor. It's us, doctors.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you, David,
very much for that, because we've been having nightmares in meetings. But as you say, if it's a bandwidth issue, that will be why people get thrown off, or you can't.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for that.
Okay. There you go. You're welcome.
So thank you very much, David. So the thing is, we've got BIM in asset management has really evolved over the last couple of years, and it's building on what we've been doing over the last 5 years with BIM for housing. The thing about BIM for housing and BIM in asset management, we're not talking about 3D modeling as being BIM. We're talking about better information management. And what we've done is set up 6 working groups. We did this 5 years ago. And the principal idea of this was to identify what information would be useful to construction from development and design. So what is it that design and construction design could do that would make it easier for construction, and exactly the same with operations. So the principle that we worked on was that there's certain areas that could be improved. For example, producing data in a more standardized way. So we set up work streams to do each of these things, looking at process, fire safety. We did a huge amount of work on fire safety, and we've published information on that, and also digital records. And the way in which we went about that was to bring together collaborative groups, and we were asked to lead the Golden Thread Initiative Asset Survey Information Group, which was really designed to help the government know what the industry experts felt was needed to complete the Golden Thread. So under those circumstances, we've run hundreds of workshops over the last 5 years, where we've got, for example, all those people around that table there are manufacturers. We've got designers coming together, but pretty well all of these really have been done on Teams, and they're all recorded and they're all up on the website. So if you are interested in that's the place to go. Very rich set of information. One of the big challenges that we've got with the new regulations is there's no explicit requirements, and that means that we've got lots of experts having their different interpretations of things. So what we're really trying to do is to make it so supply chains can get more consistent guidance, and we can do that through reusable data libraries. What we've also done is set up, or the team has set up a Miro board where you can go onto this and understand the regulations and also ask questions of the other experts. And we've got basically probably almost 100 people that have been involved in that. If you're interested in getting involved in that and using the Miro board, just put Miro in the chat and we'll come back to you on that. What we also did, we used this methodology to identify what actually the assets are doing, what risks are they mitigating, what do people do to them to stop them from working, and what information do we need to know about them. And we did this on a deep dive basis for 12 key safety critical assets. And we've kept that information up to date. We've been refreshing it every couple of years. We've just done it. We've had a team working on that in September and October, and that's now been published. So that's up on the BIM for Housing website. And the sort of detail that we've got here is for each of the asset types. We've got here fire doors, the detailed information that I think probably nobody else is providing. What we've also done is looked at things that could be standardized, like fire door inspections, for example, being able to identify in a standardized way what good looks like in terms of a fire door inspection. And we've been recently working on the same for fire dampers, fire stopping, and cavity barriers. So if you're interested in any of those sort of standardized information sets, you can go and download them from the BIM for Housing website. But also, if you're interested in understanding more about how this glues together, then I'm going to show you something now. One of the big challenges with most of these assets is knowing where they are in the building. And we regularly find that even on brand new build projects, the asset teams have to send surveyors in to go and do manual surveys to actually identify where the assets are. And that findability is a big issue, which we're trying to crack. So here, for example, we've got a few different software companies that are supporting the contractor and the asset team. And this is answering a specific question: where are the fire dampers in the building? So we've got an integration here with the Autodesk platform, but what we're also doing, we've got it integrated with the manufacturer's data about who the individual dampers that have been used, and then being able then to identify both what the damper is and also where it is in the building. So this is a very simple view of where that damper is, and by connecting it through to the both the manufacturer's information and the asset information that's in the maintenance system, we've got something that then can relate better from a compliance perspective. What we've also got is a link through to open space. So this open space application, that captures 360 photography for construction purposes. Now we're really using it now for asset management. So reusing the same information several times. We can also capture information that's been put into SharePoint for the O&M information, including the manufacturer's documentation, which we're tying back to product libraries that the manufacturers can then keep up to date themselves. So the principle here is that what we're doing is capturing something once, do it well, verifying it, and then making it available to be used many times. And what we've now done here, this is connecting it back into SFG 20, which is the UK standard for maintenance tasks. So we're then pulling all of that together. So that's, I think, a good example of how we can bring together various different software companies and service providers to work in a joined up way. And that's the principle that we've got with the Golden Thread Task Force. So I'm just going to explain that briefly. The Golden Thread Task Force is to bring together a number of different software platforms and also people that are providing services, surveyors, contractors, people that are doing inspections, and they can then form tested solutions together. And therefore, clients and people that own buildings can then come to them and bring together both the need and also what that solution is. And by bringing together different providers and also working with classified standardized data libraries, it means that we can bring together a lot of the chaos that we're currently working with in a more joined up way. And the task force, if you're interested in joining the task force and being part of what we're doing here, it's a matter really of understanding and taking the time to understand what the Golden Thread's really about. But you're very welcome, and you'd be joining quite a lot of other leading organisations that have already taken an interest in this. So if you're interested in the Golden Thread Task Force, just put Task Force in the chat. These are some of the software companies that have already started working with us. So we've got a cross-disciplinary type of environment. So therefore, we've got the opportunity to make sure a lot of this stuff actually glues together. And the process that we're operating is really trying to address the fact that most BIM models are really as designed rather than as built. So what we're doing here, we're bringing together the challenge really is that often if there is a BIM model and there's CAD data, the CAD data may or may not have come from the BIM model. You might have some COBie data. Hopefully you get some good O&Ms, and you might have 360 photography. But the challenge is that they're not connected. So that means that the only way of checking that information is to do it manually. And the result is that it often doesn't get done. So what we're doing here is bringing those things together through integration so that we can remove the silos and therefore make stuff much more findable. And doing that by bringing together the information in a way that is joined up and can then be verified using maybe even 360 photography, so that it means that we've got something much quicker and easier to maintain. I'm just going to skip on now to a case study. So one of the big challenges that we've got is that a lot of this information that's coming through should be complying with the Golden Thread, and the Golden Thread really is a concept of bringing together key information. And Regulation 38, which is the fire and emergency file, is something that is absolutely critical to the safe management of the building. But a lot of people don't actually appreciate that this is something that by law, the landlord has got to sign to say that they've received it. And the contractor has got to sign a declaration to say that they provided it. And we're certainly finding that that's not necessarily really happening. Now, why is that important? Well, if this situation, for example, we've got fire breaks out in a kitchen, smoke is being generated, and what we're doing is trying to make sure that the smoke doesn't get into that stairwell there. And the way of protecting against that is through good compartmentation. Now, that doesn't mean just that the fire doors have got to be good. It means that all of the other things that go to make up that compartment have got to be sound. And we've got to assume that something will let us down. So therefore we need good smoke control systems, detection systems, and also signage to get people out of the building. Now, the challenge is that all of that can often be quite disconnected. So we may have a BIM model where we've got really good product information, but the important thing here is that that space there, which is a stairwell, is properly protected by the various different assets that go to make up the compartment. And it may be that there's a range of different software applications being used to audit and keep that together. So what we're doing here is we're trying to find ways of getting all those different software applications to collaborate and share the same or share information about the assets that are being inspected. And what we've managed to do, we've got a lot of collaboration now. At London Build, we had Risk-Based, who's one of the leading inspection applications in certainly social care. We ran a workshop with them. We also did one with one of their major competitors, OneTrace. So the point about this is that Plan Radar, for example, we had 200 people or so in the audience at each of these workshops. And one of the common questions that we asked was, have you had a Regulation 38 pack of information that's satisfactory? And there's been some real challenges with that. So we're going to be asking you a question on that in a moment. But the purpose of bringing together all of this information, here is an indication here where we've got a BIM model, and we're tying it back to the fire plans. We're tying it back to the fire strategy. So each of the spaces is part of a fire compartment. And what we're then able to do is actually see that fire compartment in the context of the rest of the building. What we're also doing here is bringing in information that's been captured using a different software application called Boris. Really good information about where the fire stopping's been installed, but it's just a document. It's just a PDF document. So what we've done, rather than the engineer or the FM having to open up hundreds of different drawings to find what's been installed, we've interrogated that and pulled the information for each of the assets and their coordinates into the database, so we can then see where those fire stopping assets are. So we're turning it into intelligent data that can then be interrogated. So the information that was captured during the inspection can then be used by anybody else with that has a need to maybe do checks and things. And part of this process is then to be able to bring together people that are doing different types of inspections and working up a retrospective fire strategy, for example, on existing buildings, because it's highlighted the fact that many buildings don't have fire strategies. So Matt Wilkie, Matt, are you on the call at the moment? Hello, Matt. Okay, right. So I was going to hand over to Matt Wilkie. Fraser, are you on the call?
I am, yep.
Brilliant. Okay, so Fraser, could you just quickly explain to me what your company does and what you have in terms of fire engineers?
Yes, so we've got, there's 41 of us within CHBK Fire Engineering, all from varying disciplines ranging from external wall, fire risk assessment, new team, which is FSA, and obviously grassroots fire engineering. So we get involved a lot with this new thing called FSA, which is a fire safety assessment, which is basically looking at the building from an audit viewpoint. What have we got, why it's there, and we look at the existing fire strategies. Quite often we find that they will be built off the concept fire strategy rather than the actual design, completed design strategy. So we will go back and then produce the retrospective fire strategy to help with the building owners, so they understand what they've got, why they've got it. Because a lot of the problem is we end up, standing in part of the building going, well, why is that there? What's this sprinkler head here for? Is that property protection? Is it life safety? Why is the detection in this area? They've extended over the 7.5 meters for a corridor. What systems are in play to allow that extension? And to have this all in something like what we're talking about here would be fantastic, because building owners then understand what it's there for. And we end up with the correct fire strategy drawing, showing you where the compartmentation lines are, showing you where the fire zoning is from the fire alarm, smoke control layouts. We've got kit all over the place, all doing different things, and they're all, some are there as a requirement, some are there to mitigate risks. And it's, as a fire engineer's role and a fire risk assessor's role is to understand what they're there for and how they operate. And the key in getting this information right in all of this is to make sure you're running off either the as-built fire strategy or the latest retrospective fire strategy. And I think those are the two key points, because we see so many times people saying, well, we've got the fire strategy, and it's actually only the concept fire strategy, which gives you a base overview of what you probably should have, not what you actually have. So I think
that's brilliant, Fraser. So
yeah,
so where we're going with this is basically providing people like Fraser's fire engineers with much better information, so they can do the job more quickly and more cost effectively. And one of the key things with that is having the right fire and emergency file. So, Richard, is it possible for us to just do the quick survey to see whether people are getting Regulation 38? So I'll hand over.
Okay, right. Jess will put a link into the chat now. It's just one question, but we'd really like to hear your answers on it. So if you click on the link that Jess has put in the chat, and when you've done that, Jess, if you put the question up on the screen for me.
What I'm going to do is just skip back to Richard. I'll skip back to what the law actually says that you've got to provide. And this is where I think there's a lot of misunderstandings. So there needs to be an as-built plan of what needs to be done. So yeah, if people could answer that, have you ever received a complete, and it's important, a complete and audited fire and emergency file?
Yes or no? Have you ever received a complete and audited fire and emergency file that complies with Regulation 38? So just a quicker. Right, question. Do you only want people to reply who should receive those files? Well, if
no,
you know whether your organisation has, if you're involved and would know whether your organisation has received a complete file, then answer it. Or if you're responsible for supplying that file.
Can I just add to that as well, George? It's Andy Coldridge.
Yeah.
Just to add to that, I mean, the question, have you ever received a complete fire and emergency file that complies with Reg 38? Yes, no. I'd like to see don't know on there, because I would click don't know. Yes, right. I get Reg 38, but is it full in its entirety?
Right, okay.
Have I got what I'm supposed to have?
Well, I don't know what
I'm supposed to have.
For the purpose of this, if you don't know, then I put no.
Yeah, well, I did. But yes, I do get it.
I agree with you. It should have been on there. That's actually my fault. But for the purpose of this, I would put no. Yeah, if you don't know whether you have or not. Okay.
Richard, at risk of leading the witness or leading the people, I think everybody's voted by now, so I shouldn't compromise it too much. At London Build, we did this on 4 individual panel sessions on the fire safety stage. So therefore, you can be confident that the audience was certainly interested in it, knowledgeable. Yeah, and there was 200 people in each of the audiences, so that principally is 800 people, and not one person put their hands up, not one.
Well,
yeah,
we've
which
got
I
the
think is very
results in
telling.
from our poll,
Yeah.
and we've got 14% who said yes.
Oh,
so
excellent. Okay.
Yeah, excellent, but still a very small percentage, isn't it? Still a small percentage. Okay, let's move swiftly on. Has anybody got any questions on what they've heard so far? Swiftly. We're sure about that? Nothing that's caught your eye? Okay, so is there anybody, Margaret, I'm coming to you.
Okay.
I'm coming to you. Just be
Okay.
patient. Right, anybody who's interested in, they can do or need retrospective fire strategies. Anybody who can do that or has the need for that?
So
Put
can I just
into the chat fire strategy. Yeah, and we're talking about retrospective fire strategy in this case, but we'll pick that up. Don't worry about that. Just put strategy in the chat. If you're interested, you can do retrospective fire strategies, or you're interested in knowing more about retrospective fire strategies. Put strategy, excuse me, in the chat.
So can I just add to that, Richard?
Yep.
Whilst people are doing it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so what we've done, our normal way of working for those that haven't been involved is to identify an issue, and there's certainly an issue with people having current up-to-date fire strategies, and there's all sorts of reasons why that's challenging. In many cases, because there aren't very many fire engineers. There's far too much work for the fire engineers that are in place. So what we try and do is come up with ways that we can ease the problem, and that's what the work streams do. So we've got a dedicated work stream that has met twice now, and they've got another couple of meetings to go, and we'll produce some guidance from that. And the principle is bringing together people that are either that can do fire strategies, or have got ways of making them easier for people to do and more usable. So if you're interested in getting involved in that work stream, then if you put, as Richard said, if you put fire strategy into the chat, we can invite you to the next meeting, which will be in probably a couple of weeks, or it may be just after Christmas now. So yeah, that was that, and that also includes the Regulation 38 work as well. So because broadly, you can't really do a fire strategy unless you know what's in the building, and therefore, if you don't have a proper fire and emergency file, then it makes it a lot more difficult for the fire engineers to work.
Okay, so fire strategy in the chat if you can do it or you want to know more about it. Okay, now George and I and Jess have been attending some couple of very interesting meetings run by a very impressive lady who I'm going to introduce now, who's going to give a very quick overview, very quick, Margaret, overview on what you're doing, Margaret, and how anybody can get involved.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, George. Very quickly, before I refer to the university's focus in terms of Building Safety Act compliance and competence, the Reg 38 question you asked, and you showed 14% on that results people have received and seen. I'd be very interested to understand what they've received. I mean, I put down yes, because in University College London we have a very experienced fire safety team who, if they're allowed to feed into the projects, and they are very adamant about the Reg 38 information, and not just having it, but actually making sure it's checked and fit for purpose. So I think that the key is having the relevant specialist on the project. If people don't know what to ask for, then you won't get it. But if people have got the fire safety team there, and I say we have a very experienced fire safety team, most universities do, but that's the university sector that I'm referring to. So coming back to answer your question, Richard, we were really privileged, University College London, to host a Building Safety Act conference, 3rd of September, earlier this year. We had it's online as well as in person. Had about 230 people in total, about 156 in person, about 80 odd on, nearly 90 online. And the main things coming out from that conference were the raising of awareness in terms of all of the things that you're talking about here. And it's absolutely fantastic what you're doing, George and Richard. You know, it's not just about getting information. That information has to be linked to the building. It has to be intelligent. It has to, you know, it has to be relevant. So on the as a result of that conference we had in September, we put out feedback to attendees, and what we've actually done with the kind assistance of USHA, the Universities Safety and Health Association, all health and safety people in universities, and alongside BIM for Housing, BIM for Asset Management, the Golden Thread Task Force here, a series of workshops. So what's happened as a result of that conference, workshops are being planned. We've got a first workshop this Friday on the, Friday the 5th, 3 o'clock on Teams, raising aspects of what came out from conference. We were very privileged to have Dame Judith Hackett speaking at conference, the Building Safety Regulator, Cross, eminent persons in the industry, those that know, obviously the Association for Project Safety and the Building Safety Alliance. So basically, going forward, these workshops, very similar to this, but university focused, university and NHS, because many of you know the universities work alongside in hospitals now, are going to have these workshops and helping colleagues in the built environment to really apply the new rules. We've all seen what's on LinkedIn. We've all seen what's in the trade press. This is law. It's not optional. It's legislation. We have to comply with it. Got new duty holders, whether we like it or we don't. There are new duty holders, and we've got work to do. As George has just said, the smart thing to do is to collaborate. The smart thing to do is to make sure you've got the tying in of information, design, construction, into operations and maintenance, and of course into end of life for some of our buildings. That's really what I wanted to say. Is that okay, Richard?
That's fantastic. Thank you. Right. So if you're interested in coming along to any of those Margaret's workshops, there's one, as she said, on Friday, or just getting some more information. As she said, it's primarily university and NHS focused. But a lot of this stuff crosses the species barrier, doesn't it? So if anybody's interested in knowing more about that or coming along to a meeting, put Marge, M-A-R-G-E, put Marge in the chat. There we go. Anybody wants to come along to those or get some more information at least. Lovely, lovely. Somebody put March. That's okay. Sorry, Margaret was too long.
Charming.
Wonderful, wonderful. Oh, you're getting a good view there, Margaret.
Thank you.
Very good, very good. Lovely to see. You've had some good responses already, haven't you? People coming along.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got quite a number of people signed up already, so thank you. And
okay, George.
The other thing to say, Judith Hackett, as when I met her last week at ResiBuild at Excel, she is very interested to know what's going on in the universities. She's been to all the professional institutions, and she wants to know the outputs from these workshops. So she's very interested to know what's going on in the university sector. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. It's good to know somebody's listening, isn't it? Okay, so at that point, George, do you want to swing into the launch of the Smart Golden Thread?
Yep, we'll do. Okay, so one of the interesting things at the moment is that there's a lot of talk over the years about digital twins and the like, and we're not really, I think, dealing with the fact that the relationship between the physical building and the logical building, which is the way smart systems tend to look at things, what's connected to what, and what's it doing, that's not been working very well. So what we've been doing is looking at how we can use smart technology to add intelligence into BIM models. So for example, if we've got 360 photographs, one way of doing that is to get people that have got a lot of knowledge about what they can see in those 360 photographs, which are actually the as-builts, and then use that to train new people, but also to train AI. So one of the things that we've been doing is using this to capture information about what an expert sees that valve is, and then using that to train large language models to be able to identify those things. Now, that's not easy. We're not saying it's cracked yet, but we're well on the way to doing it. Also, being able to bring together 360 photographs and turn them into intelligent asset data. And the way of doing that is what that does. We end up with a smart 360 photograph, so that the 360 photograph makes things more findable. It also means that we can connect it back into other processes. We can tie it back to various different technologies that are capturing the 360 photos. And also we can then relate it back to the many great software applications that are being used during construction. Now, remember, this is BIM in asset management. So what we then need to do is look at what the steps are to actually bring that about. So what we've therefore got is that as a coherent set of information. I'm now going to introduce another company who is specializing in this area. They've come up with a very interesting and novel way of integrating the network side of things into the wider process. So Alexander, well, in fact, actually, the two people that we've got on the call, it's quite interesting. Alexander's joining us from Hong Kong, and he's 8 hours ahead of us. So Alexander, are you there?
Yep, sure, I'm here.
Great. Could you, just whilst I'm setting your thing up, could you just explain briefly what your technology is doing?
Yeah, absolutely, sure. So our basic idea is to connect the control logic with 3D model and BIM model, and to make it in the smart way. So, George, if you could run video, it will be much clearer after that.
Yeah, for some reason I can't find the video. Sorry for a second. Have you got it?
Yeah, no worries.
Could you do it and share it, please? Make sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, carry on.
The desktop application integrated into Autodesk Revit. In essence, they function as a single unified application. It is possible to import architectural entities from Autodesk Revit for use when placing technological equipment and automation devices. However, these entities can also be created manually. Let's switch to the desktop application for a more detailed overview. Technological units and automation components are placed within a tree of architectural entities. Let's examine one of these units in more detail. A unit is a fully customizable entity. Every element within the unit can be configured according to the user's requirements. A technological unit can contain both automation devices and any other required technological elements. For example, let's place a sensor inside the air duct of a ventilation unit. We simply take it from the catalog and move it to the required position. As a result, the device, together with all its internal complexity, becomes part of the project and is ready for further use. Now let's look at the level of detail available when modeling an automation device, using the example of an actuator for a control valve. Here you can see a selector that allows you to quickly locate the required device based on defined parameters. For example, let's consider this actuator. At the top of the form, we see a set of the actuator's basic fields. It is possible to specify more detailed information about the actuator, which can later be used for calculations and the selection of related equipment or suitable cabling. Below this, we see information regarding the actuator's connection terminals and their purpose. These data are used for the automatic selection of PLC control modules and for generating detailed wiring diagrams. Further down, we also see a list of valves compatible with this actuator, which can likewise be used in equipment selection algorithms. Let us return to the topic of creating diagrams. There is no need to design a technological unit diagram from scratch. You can use the catalog of standard design solutions and select one that suits your task. The catalog can be expanded by the user. This means you can create your own set of ready-made solutions that can be reused in other projects. You can use a template solution when creating a new diagram or add it to an existing one. It is important to emphasize that a ready-made solution from the catalog includes both technological elements and automation devices. In addition, the template contains all other necessary data. In essence, it is a fully prepared part of the project. Let's look at the process of creating an automation panel that will control a technological unit or a group of units. To do this, we need to associate the technological unit with an automation panel, either one created specifically for this purpose or an already existing one. Let's select a new panel from the list. We can define a new PLC or use the default controller. Let's consider the second option, as it is the most commonly used. To connect automation devices to the panel, all we need to do is drag the required technological unit, together with all the contents we previously created in the schema editor based on a template, into the desired panel. After saving, the following will occur. The system will calculate the required number of controller expansion modules and related devices, such as power supply modules, terminal sections, terminal blocks, and much more. It will also calculate cable connections and distribute conductors across the terminal modules. As a result, we obtain a fully prepared automation solution for controlling a technological unit or a group of units. Let's look at how the application interacts with the 3D model. All equipment placed on the drawing is represented in the 3D model, and there is a bidirectional link between the model item and the schematic item. We can select any element in the model and view its project data, its ID, which automation panel it is connected to, and which cable is used. We can also remove a device from the model and place it back again if needed. We can view the cable routes, which are generated automatically when schematic equipment is placed in the model, as well as the list of cables used. Additionally, we can select any model element and jump to the schematic where it is used, obtaining complete information about it, which technological unit it belongs to, where it is located, and what it is connected to.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Yeah, so right, what we need to do is then look at that from a practical operational perspective, and what we've got is now a section. I'm now changing around a little bit on this to go back to what we're doing with that technology to make it easier to deal with some real world problems. So could I ask, is David there from Molcheck? David, are you on the call? David from Molcheck, no?
If you hold on, I'll check who's online. There are times, aren't there, when the agenda takes on a life of its own.
Okay, it looks as though he's not here at the moment.
No, he's not, George.
Stephen, are you here from Iris?
Yes, I'm here, George. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what? Could you just explain what we're trying to do with the? We've got another work stream that's operating at the moment with regard to AWAB's law. So, could you put some context behind what we're doing in terms of sensors for tackling a particular problem? And we'll come back to what Alexander's doing there in a moment.
Yeah, sure. So, cheers, George. Yeah, so AWAB's law came into play October 2025 and affects 4 million social houses in the UK. So, before the law came in, it was really up to the landlord. If the tenant had an issue with mold, then the landlord had no timeline to actually take action. But from October, now they have literally days to actually take action to do something for the tenant. So what we do, we're nothing to do with mold. We're a telecom company. We build sensors. So we build all kinds of sensors in the UK, from vibration, energy monitoring, but there's a heavy focus on environmental sensors. And AWAB's law is a kind of a catalyst, and we're using it as a kind of a Trojan horse to highlight how air quality can affect the wellness, not just in homes, but also in schools and in buildings as well. So what we do is we just do a small part of the puzzle to help solve or complement the law that's come in. So all we do is provide the sensor and the data that people can make better decisions around how to take action. So the bare minimum is temperature and humidity plus time. So there's a lot of science around if temperature's at a certain level and if humidity is at a certain level at a certain time, there's a chance that mold may grow in those areas. You can then go to more extremes and start adding particulate matter, so dust, to see if there's an increase in dust. And also, if you also want to add TVOCs, so like what chemical elements are in the area as well. So how we deliver this, we deliver it through a sensor to a dashboard, and that then gives the end users the insights into if that property is at risk of mold growing, or if it's a safe environment. So is that enough, George, to start off with?
Yeah. That, very much so. So what I'd like to do is just put this in a context, Stephen. So what you're doing at the moment, you're providing an important component part of what is an overall solution that a landlord would need. And that needs to be integrated, for example, with other solutions, maybe their help desk system, the technology of being able to maybe address because what you're doing is you're providing something that prevents the conditions occurring that causes the problem. Other people are having to deal with it, and David from MoldCheck showed us some technology last week that I was hoping that he'd be able to explain today, which is a spray that can deal with it's come out of the food processing industry, and it looks as though it's quite an interesting technology that can add into this. So what we're doing with the Golden Thread Task Force is bringing together different people that have got different solutions, so that we can then come up with something that a landlord can come along to and find something that all works. And the aspect of that is the task force group that we've got. We've got within that group, we've got some people who are landlords, we've got contractors, we've got some technology companies, we've got software companies, and if you're interested, if you're trying to tackle damp and mold at the moment, put that down, put AWABs or damp and mold in the chat, and we can invite you to that next meeting that we've got. And then the overall thing, Richard, I think you're waiting to say something, are you?
No, I'm just trying to find out where I am on the agenda.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
No, we need to open this up to have some people from the I won't say the audience, to have a chat, but I'm not quite sure what about.
About AWAB's law.
Well, are we on AWAB's law, or are we on
we're
smart
on
buildings?
AWAB's law. Yeah.
Right. So AWAB's law. Who's got some questions or something to say on AWAB's law? Debbie Carlton, you put something very interesting in the chat. Could you
Yes, my expertise is competency management, and particularly using AI technology in that domain. And I have my own competence knowledge base of all the built environment, occupational standards, competence frameworks, etc. Yes, and there is practically no coverage of mold safety at all in any of the current stuff. And despite bringing this up to what was the precursors to Skills England 3 years ago, there's still nothing in the standards yet. Yes. So, for example, in social housing, there's a role called a property maintenance operative. They've just updated it again. Nothing around mold safety. Yes. So there's a problem. You know, we're going to need more people to be aware of this, from understanding it basically to diagnosing it to solutions. Yes. And the skills system just isn't fit for purpose to support it.
Okay. Anybody got any comments on? We've got a lot of people showing some interest here in this. Have anybody here got some experiences they want to share, or an issue that they had that they managed to sort out or didn't? Stephen.
I think what Debbie just said, you know, we started investigating the opportunity that AWAB's law was going to bring in about 2 years ago. So started talking to different levels of specialists or so-called specialists in mold, and you could literally put two people in the room and one would argue black was white and white was black on how to solve the problem. And there is so many weak spots, I think, in this new issue that's come to the forefront. It's you know, since last month, and there's a lot of head scratching going on how they're going to deal with it. There's a lot of bad information out there as well. So it is a real mess. The more you delve into mold, you'll see what a big issue it is for every housing association, of course. And it is going to now move into the private sector. So Wes Streeting, bless him, on the day of the launch, he kind of said, yeah, this isn't just going to be for social housing. This is going to go into private in 2026. And there's just not enough qualified people out there. I think there's a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon to say they're mold experts all of a sudden. But where is the certification? You know, where is the guidance to say, yeah, they're accredited to a certain standard on mold?
Does it exist?
No, it doesn't. There's a big opportunity. There's a big opportunity here, you know, and maybe that's something we could look at to action in this, George. Yes, who would be a good certifying body? I mean, you know, it's even getting, you know, most people need to have basic understanding of building physics, building pathology. Yes, you know, without getting to the detail of the solutions, and that doesn't exist. Yes, and this week the Skills England just published its standard skills classification. It's an interim classification. Again, nothing in that about this domain. Yes, you know, really. So we need to influence this as well. But I think there is an opportunity to put up some kind of certification scheme, but do it in an intelligent way that can adapt, particularly to the evolving narrative around this. Yes, so.
Well, I mean, it's a huge opportunity. You said it's a huge opportunity. It's a huge opportunity for a bunch of cowboys to make a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, seriously,
really,
you know, we engage with quite a lot of experts, but there's a lot of shady characters out there who are just doing the bare minimum, doing things that actually could cause harm. You know, once you speak to people who have got certain, you know, lived and breathed, excuse the pun, mold for a long time, you know, there is a lot of people going to make money quickly.
It's a totally different skill set, isn't it? Because you're not talking about something that's just in the building. You're talking about something that's within the building, aren't you? No, it's actually in the bricks.
Sorry, could I just ask, is there anybody on the call who is working in this area that's either addressing mold? Have we got any contractors that are doing the work? That's interesting. Okay,
they're probably all busy.
Yeah, that very true.
Yeah.
So we've had some people put their names in the chat to maybe get invited to the next work stream. So that I think that's the next step with this. I think actually it's a really good indication of what we are doing, why the Golden Thread Task Force is important, because what we can do, Stephen's already participated in a couple of the workshops, and there's a couple of people that are there who are actually, you know, ostensibly competitors of Stephen's. But the beauty is that because we're getting people in the same room, there's more work in this area than anybody can actually do on their own. And we've got the opportunity to peer review what the solutions are and actually challenge them and understand them and then work together. So yeah, I'd encourage people to get involved in that. Okay, so I'm going to come back on the smart side of things.
Sorry,
because
can I just, sorry.
Carry on, Richard, sorry.
Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, have you gone into the challenge?
No, please do. Sorry.
Right, we are running an AWAB's Law challenge. Now, as you can appreciate, to solve this issue and to understand this issue, it's not just for a person, one expert. It's about a whole team getting together and saying, right, what do we need? What's the solution? We've got one of our guys, Alex. Alex is co-leading with George the AWAB's Law work stream, and he's actually got a team together of a number of people. They've already had meetings, who will be putting forward their proposed solution and best in class methodology. So I encourage any of you out there who's interested. We've had a lot of people who are interested, ticking the box and putting it in the chat. Consider getting a little team together or being part of a team to join the challenge. There are real world prizes here. You'll get something very nice. We're not sure exactly what. We've got a number of options out there. 360 camera. Different companies are offering software licenses and the like for free. So if you're interested in sorry, I've got something in my throat. If you're interested in getting involved in the AWAB's Law challenge, put challenge in the chat.
So what we're trying to do with that is get innovation coming through so that we can each learn from the good ideas that others have got. Because this isn't something that people should be looking at a particular commercial edge on. It's something that we should be doing as a group. But it's a good idea to have a bit of competition with some sort of acceleration on that. So that's what we'd like to do. Because there's also the issue with AWAB's Law, or with damp and mold. There's a variety of reasons it happens. And it's a matter really of understanding what those are so that things can be prevented, but also people can come up with innovative ways of dealing with the issue.
Can I just add quickly, George, before you go onto the smart thing, that with anything associated with the task force, but not solely the task force, we very often will approach you or send you an invite for a quick 15-minute one-to-one chat with one of it could be with our steering group, members of our steering group, with George or other experts. So if you're interested in that, put one-to-one in the chat. But even if you're not, you may still be lucky enough to get an invite. Go.
Okay. So the beauty of the work, the collaboration that we've got is that we're bringing together people, and I'm certainly learning a lot of new technologies and new people. And for example, the presentation that Alexander's just given to us earlier is something that I probably wouldn't have come across, but it is novel. I mean, there's a lot of people here that probably aren't involved in smart buildings or designing smart buildings, but they may be involved in maintaining them. They may be involved in insuring them or even just using them. So part of the exercise of this is to be able to tap into various different knowledgeable people who have got a certain part of the jigsaw that can go to make up an overall solution. So what we're doing, Alexander, as I was just saying earlier, the technology that they've produced, we think we can use in different ways also for asset management. So just as what Alexander was doing there was tying together a network of a logical network of how devices are supporting certain spaces in the building, and then tying it back to a 3D model, we believe that we can do the same using 360 photographs of existing buildings. Now that's a real breakthrough, because it means that we can then start to assign against the things that you see in the building what network they're part of. So if anybody's interested in looking at that sort of reverse engineering of BMS systems, then we've got a bit of a presentation or a discussion. I've got an expert that's about to join who can explain how we can do that. But also, if you're interested in talking with us with Alexander and BIM Dance on that particular topic, then if you put that down in the chat, BIM Dance, we can pick up on that as well. So that's so that's that. Stephen.
George, do you know that your camera's been off the whole time?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. It's just kind of a bit weird when somebody's talking, you can't see them. There you go. I thought maybe you hadn't washed your hair.
Okay. Right. So just as Alexander's 8 hours behind us, the next person I'm going to invite on is Steve Jones, and he's actually in the US. So Steve, are you there?
I am here, absolutely. And let me share my screen,
please.
And okay.
So I met Steve a few weeks ago, but his background is very useful from our perspective, because he used to work for Johnson Controls, and one of the big problems that most about the FMs that we work with come across is closed systems, and how do you then be able to turn them into something that can then be more easily managed. So Steve, I'll hand over to you just for a couple of minutes, please.
Okay, sounds great. So just a little bit of background. We are focused, as George implied, on the retrofit and upgrade market for buildings with legacy building automation systems. So, you guys shared a lot of great information on making assets findable. And once you find the asset, what are all the attributes of that asset, and so forth. We're focused on the building automation operations aspect. So once you've gotten all that information at hand and available, now what's happening in real time? And I'm going to start out with a very quick overview of BACnet and what it is. BACnet is an acronym that stands for Building Automation and Control Network. It's a international communication standard that all building automation manufacturers follow. For instance, here in the US, the number is, I think, now approaching 90% of the building infrastructure manufacturers follow the BACnet standard. Started out to control heating and air conditioning, and I asked ChatGPT to help me out. How do I very quickly present what is the power of BACnet, and it came up with this graphic, and I think it does a very nice job at saying basically in real time BACnet allows all manufacturers' products to talk to each other, to share data, and so on and so forth. So that's the state of the art today. But the reality is, when a building gets constructed, there's not going to be a major renovation for, say, 25 to 30 years. So we've got a lot of installed base of legacy systems before BACnet was introduced, and the data is locked inside of those systems because it's proprietary, and each manufacturer did their own thing in the early days of automated building automation. And so that means customer lock-in, that means maintainability issues, compatibility issues, and so forth. So we developed a set of gateways that understand how to talk to these legacy systems, and we make those legacy systems look like current generation backnet technology. Therefore, now this legacy building can participate in the backnet ecosystem, i.e., any new generation building automation control or value-added application that subscribes to the backnet protocol can now utilize the data from that building. So, you know, the alternative is you need to shut down your building in extreme cases, rip everything out and replace it. That means a capital investment. That means very disruptive to your building and business operations. By putting our gateway in place, you on day one can get access to that data that was previously locked in the system. It can now be consumed by any backnet aware controller or application to start adding value to the building. Okay, you know, consuming that data, creating actionable items.
Okay, yeah, Stephen. So obviously, probably 80% of the audience, including me, doesn't really understand what BACnet is, and now's not the time for us to explain that. But what we want to do is get over to the community that if you've got a building that's got a BMS system in it, then there are ways that the community, Steve, for example, and others within this group can help us unlock that closed system. And also, you've got technology, haven't you, Steve, that will seek out where assets are in the building.
Absolutely. So
yeah,
we've used the fact that BACnet is the glue that allows everything to talk to everything else in the building. And what we've done is as I scroll down to the bottom of this this little document here, in the center you'll see our device. It is talking to legacy systems that were manufactured by Johnson Controls 25 to 30 years ago. And
Steve, sorry, is BACnet just US or is it international?
It is international.
It is international. Thank
you. Here in the US, close to 90% of all buildings are being done with BACnet. You know, if you look around the world, you know, depending on where you are, it's close to that number. In other places, it's just beginning to be adopted. So
okay, thanks. It was just one of our people asked, Ryan.
Okay, great.
Steve, so, could we stop at that and just ask the audience now?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, is anybody interested in this topic from a point of view of the buildings that they're actually occupying, or buildings that they're working on? If you put I'm thinking, Richard, what's the best way of saying this?
Put BAC.
Yeah.
Put BAC in the chat.
Yep, that will work great.
BAC.
Now, what my intention?
Pull something together on that, because I think there's going to be a lot of interest from the notes on the comments.
Oh, great. Okay, that's good. Yeah. So
yeah.
What we'll do is we'll set something up with Steve, one of his colleagues, Aaron, who's another. He's got another part of this jigsaw, and also with Alexander and some other people. Yeah. We can pull this together, because the principle here is to try and
get the rules and stuff. You do it all, then they accepted, and then they say, no, can you send the copy of the actual driving license? I'm like, what?
Oh, so I don't know what that was. Yeah. Okay. So from this point of view, if you we're going to run another workshop on this, I think, if there's interest. So put your name in, and then we'll go from there.
Most people should be interested in this, shouldn't they? Yeah, we'll get something set up with this early in the new year.
Is there anything else you wanted to say, Steve? Sorry, I cut you short on that.
No problem. I knew time was of the essence. From a business standpoint, when we move away from the technology a little bit, now instead of having to have a major capex investment to rip everything out of your building and replace it, very disruptive, you still end up upgrading the legacy systems in the building. You do it over time in small pieces, becomes OpEx projects essentially. So you're putting the control back in the hands of the building owner. When can I afford to incrementally do an upgrade? How can I best manage it so it doesn't destroy the operations of my business in the process? So
cool. Okay,
working smarter.
Thank you very much. So BAC in the chat, back in the chat, and we'll be back in touch. Okay, in keeping with the international flavour of this meeting, George, hit us with Hong Kong.
Okay, so we went over to Hong Kong about a year ago, and that then led to us doing a presentation to the Construction Industry Council of Hong Kong about 2 weeks ago. And there was about 700 people attended that webinar. And as a result of that and the work that we've been doing over the last couple of years, I'll put that in the chat as well. There's two presentations there, one by me and one by Paul Oakley, who's a specialist in standards. He wrote the 19650 part 2 annex for Hong Kong. So there's a strong relationship between the UK and Hong Kong in this particular regard. So I'll put those in the chat, Richard. So if anybody wants to watch them, each of them's a 30-minute video. Anyway, and we've established champions in Hong Kong, and we're lucky enough that one of those, I think, joined us, Danny Ho from Open Space. Danny, are you there at the moment, please?
Yes, George. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yep.
Can you put your camera on, Danny, or is that difficult?
I put, but I try to turn on the camera, but it's not allowed.
Oh, okay, fine. Carry on. So just explain to me the situation that you've got in. Obviously, all of this, we did this 2 weeks ago, and then obviously Typo has could you just give people a very quick understanding or explanation of what's happened there, because that's your Grenfell, isn't it? Yeah
right, absolutely. Thanks, George. By the way, actually I have been in discussion with George, I think since last year, because let me give you some background about myself. I've been in CAD/BIM or IWMS technology market for over 30 years. So with all the major vendors, building life cycle stuff. So back then, it's a familiar face work to me, because we work with intelligent building system. So we have been in discussion with George about some of the digital asset stuff. But sadly, sadly to say, we had the Typo fire. I think you guys see that on news. It's the deadliest fire accident happened in Hong Kong. Actually, so far we have 159 people die, and still 31 people is still missing. So it's very bad. And then the people sometimes they compare it with the Grenfell Tower case. in Hong Kong, in UK a few years back. So actually, I recall when I first met with George, I said, it's my vision and mission, basically to kind of improve and trying to transform the industry, how people manage building life cycle. But not until the fire, I think the government is panicked in a way. They're trying to find ways to see, regulatory stuff. They arrested some people, the main contractor for the renovation and all this stuff. And then ICAC, the corruption, department, anti-corruption department basically also involved. So this is, I think we're still suffering from this sadness. So this is pretty much the background. But I think it was a good, in a way, is an opportunity for us to trigger, the Golden Thread Task Force type of discussion. And in fact, we have, or you see, Coleman, Dave, and myself had our initial meeting last week, and then we decided we have to do something together. So in case, I would like to call for invitation. If you have friends, contacts that are connected to Hong Kong or even Asia Pacific, just let us know. We are recruiting, experts from the field. We may have a BIM experts. We have compliance expert. We have a construction. We have a FM. We have operation people as well. So yeah, this is kind of quick summary.
That's brilliant, Danny. Thank you. So the key thing here is if you're interested in maybe providing some support to Hong Kong at this very difficult time, then please put Hong Kong in the chat. Also, if you want to learn from what they're doing there as well, because they've got some very advanced technologies, as you can imagine, in Hong Kong. And Paul Sheedy, for example, one of our colleagues, he's shown in the past some of the work that they've done on fire safety or fire safety technology in Shanghai. But if you're interested in participating and getting to know more about the relationships that we're building with Hong Kong, just put Hong Kong in the chat, please. Thank you, Danny.
Well, thanks, for that.
And on this international flavour, we're also establishing a small team in Nigeria. So Olu, are you there at the moment?
Yes, I am.
Olu, could you introduce yourself and I think you've got something to show us, haven't you?
Yes, I do. Let me share my screen. Okay,
cool.
So my name is Dolapo Bajelabi. You can call me Olu. I've been in the construction tech space in Nigeria, Africa for quite a while now. And well, I'd like to thank Richard and George for this task force. This is my first time here, but I've watched most of the past meetings that you've had. And that's part of what has brought us to this moment. I would like to share what we've done so far about the Nigerian chapter of the Golden Thread Task Force. So I'll be talking about the need. I mean, it's clear, but I would like to talk about that and the framework and approach we are implementing in establishing the Nigerian chapter, and also what we've done so far. Now, early signals have shown us that the patterns are the same in the UK and in Nigeria. Fragmented information existing in silos, inconsistent handover, we have the same. Gaps in life cycle information, we have the same. And to add on top of that, we have frequent collapses, which are the extreme outcomes of these challenges. So Nigeria is quite an ideal candidate for the Golden Thread Task Force in terms of getting the information joined together such that the quality is higher, it's complete, it's consistent, and it lives throughout the life cycle of assets. Now, Nigeria has a very large market, having estimates of 30 to 40 billion. And like I mentioned before, building safety is a serious issue. We need to get better at quality control. We need to get better at record keeping at a higher stage. We need to get better at making sure the information is transparent. Now, technology is available, especially with the tier one companies. We already have 360 camera data being captured, but it's not structured properly, sufficiently for safety critical asset information. BIM is also not, we don't have high adoption yet, but there's a high potential. So the opportunity is there. We have skilled professionals, we have organizations that have the will, but just don't have the structure. So looking at the Nigerian chapter, we are working to ground it in the UK framework so that it's an extension of the work you have done here, the amazing work you've been doing. And we understand that the local reality is a bit different. So we are counting on the UK chapter to be hands-on, to volunteer, to help us adapt some of the framework you've already created for the Nigerian reality. We are already talking with smart and knowledgeable people who have decades of experience to come on board. And what we've done so far, is to reach out to a couple of tier one companies and organizations, Lagos Business Co, PrimeTech, that's the design arm of Julius Berger, and Kappa and Dalbato, and they are extremely interested. We've also reached out to individuals who have been advocating for change over the years. And like I said, the interest is very strong. So I'm going to bring my presentation to an end here. And I hope we'll get volunteers who will be willing to go on this journey with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Olu. Yeah, so I think the important thing here is that we're doing work and have been doing over the last 4 or 5 years, which we're now applying to all sorts of different sectors. In other words, the work that we've done in housing, we've applied to hospitals. The work that we're doing in hospitals is being applied now to universities. Now, given the fact that most of the work that we're doing is being done remotely, why can't we provide services, our expertise, into Nigeria, into Hong Kong? Yeah, so it opens up, I think, a really strong market for the professionals in our community to be able to apply their knowledge and their learning to win fee earning commissions in different countries. And if I'm hoping that the Golden Thread Task Force group can therefore come up with some coherent solutions that can help Olu in Nigeria, but also certainly as far as Danny's concerned and the team in Hong Kong as well. So if you're interested in either of those circumstances, please sign up to the Golden Thread Task Force, but also give us an indication of whether you've got a particular interest in providing solutions elsewhere, either as individuals or as companies that you're working for.
So excuse me, put Nigeria into the chat if you have a particular interest in knowing more and getting involved.
Sorry,
as
can
George
somebody
said, as an individual or as an organisation.
Has anybody got a...
George, your camera's frozen and your sound's funny.
Okay.
That's it. Put Nigeria into the chat if you're interested in getting involved and helping Olo and his contacts and compatriots and getting involved as it personally or individually or as an organization. Okay, and if you're interested in the broader stroke of getting involved in the task force itself, just put task force in the chat and we will be in touch with you. We've got about, I think 200, 300 people, I think, at the moment in the task force. So Nigeria, Hong Kong task force, any or all of those, and we will be in touch with you on what you're saying.
I would also say, can you hear me okay now, Richard?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would also say, remember that we're all volunteers. Yeah. So one of the things that we're just bear with us if we don't get back to you as quickly as you might expect, and by all means chase us, because we're all passionate about making this work. So if you've that was just an observation, Richard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So sometimes people expect us to be, like we're a company or something, and why haven't you got back to me quicker? And it's just like, well, we actually have a day job as well. But that's fine. I suppose it's, George, it's because we're so professional that people think that must be what it is. Okay, Task Force Nigeria, Hong Kong. And earlier we had the Miro board, AWAB's law. And we won't forget the
smart buildings as well.
The smart buildings. If you're interested in smart buildings, put smart. And if you're interested in the hospital and the NHS and university angle of all of this, then put Marge in the chat. They're just pouring in, aren't they? Look at them all. Wonderful. It's really encouraging to us when we hear that little beep, 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 beep going off, because we know we've said something right. Christine's saying we need more data people involved. You're absolutely right, we do. Bring some in, Christine, if you could. Excellent.
And we're going to run the next.
What does Christine mean by data people? What kind of data people?
Christine? Christine? Can't hear
you. Your camera, your microphone's. I think you've got a problem with your microphone, Chris.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Chris.
Richard, just whilst we're on, is it worth just saying that we're going to run the next forum meeting on the 14th of January?
It absolutely is. I was just going to ask you what the date was.
14th
of January will be the next forum. Don't worry, you'll be receiving invites very shortly. Our people don't have Christmas. So you may even get an invite at a funny time. Don't be surprised.
Brilliant.
Okay. Wow. What a meeting. What a full meeting, and what an eventful meeting, and great responses from all of you. Thank you very much indeed. So as George said, we're having the next meeting on the 14th of January. George, any closing remarks?
No, I'm just encouraged that that people are continuing to keep an interest in what we're doing, and obviously, if you've any suggestions that you want to make, I'm very happy to pick up on those.
And we will be in touch for one-to-ones, whether you requested one or you didn't.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Debbie, do you want to wait a second? And because Christine may have answered your question in the chat, and I'm just trying to find it. IT data estate people, Chris, Debbie, that's what she's talking about. I don't even know what that means. Do you?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, and happy Christmas, obviously.
Thanks very much, everybody. Oops.
Cheers.
I'm going to switch my camera on.
Thanks, George. Richard, everybody.
Sorry, I didn't have it on earlier. Apologies. See you later. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Thanks, George.